How's it going, everybody? It's Justin from Stand and Bang, and for today's video I'm going to be breaking down the first ever UFC on ESPN card. We've had the UFC on ESPN Plus, but this is the first ever on the ESPN channel. It's going to be Francis Ngannou versus Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez is back after 3 years. Amazing fight card, so let's get into it. The first fight I want to break down is Benito Lopez versus Manny Bermudez. This is going to be a very good fight with Benito Lopez coming off the Contender Series. There's been a lot of good fighters coming off of Contender Series making their name known, and Benito Lopez definitely made his name known in the Contender Series and with his debut in the UFC, where he had a crazy back and forth where he gets dropped and then within like 15 seconds he catches the guy with a flying knee and then catches him with another flying knee. He's very exciting, very flashy striker. He has very good movement. He likes to he's good switching stances. He has, like I said, he has very flashy strikes. He likes the flying knee. If people blitz in on him, that's usually like when he likes to throw the flying knee, or if he sees that his opponent's hurt. He's going to be undefeated. Actually, both these fighters are going to be undefeated, so somebody's going to be losing their oath that night. Lopez is also very good with the head kick. So like I say, he's very flashy, so he's going to want to tone that down against Manny Bermudez. Because Manny Bermudez, at the end of the day, wants to take you down and submit you. And with Lopez's flashy style, he's going to leave himself open to takedowns against Bermudez. So he's going to not want to throw as many flashy strikes, but he's definitely going to have the striking advantage against Bermudez on the feet. Bermudez will even pull guard, so that's one thing Lopez has to look out for. He has to stay conditioned, because Bermudez will stay in the fight, and if it goes to the later rounds, he will find a way to take it to the ground. He doesn't give up on trying to find a way to the ground. If he does get it to the ground, Bermudez is amazing with the triangle choke. His nickname's the Bermudez Triangle, so you know that's his favorite submission. He also loves his guillotine chokes, just very well routed in the jiu-jitsu aspect. So if it goes to the ground, he's definitely going to have the grappling advantage against Lopez. But for Lopez, what he's want to do is going to stay at range. He's going to need to utilize his very good striking. Utilize what got him to the dance, and that's his very unorthodox striking. But he's going to need to tone it down a little bit against Bermudez, because if he goes crazy with the flying knees and head kicks in this fight, he's going to leave himself open to get taken down against Bermudez. And you know, at the end of the day, that's what Bermudez wants the fight to be, on the ground. So that's what Lopez needs to utilize, but just tone it down a little bit. Don't get too flashy. But my final prediction, I think Benito Lopez is going to catch Bermudez clean in the beginning, first or second round, and he's going to finish the fight. So I got Benito Lopez by first or second round TKO. And on to the next fight that's super exciting, super intriguing. Kron Gracie versus Alex Caceres. I'm super interested in this fight with Kron Gracie making his UFC debut. Let's talk about Alex Caceres first, though. He has very good flashy kicks. He's very flashy with all of his strikes. He has pretty good footwork, which is, I think, is going to be his one of his best attributes in this fight against Kron Gracie. But Alex Caceres is a pretty young fighter, and he's been taking already a lot of damage. And usually when you see these young fighters taking so much damage soon, it's not good for their career, and their later fights, they're not going to do so well. As you can see in like the Thomas Almeida, for example. He's a young fighter, but just taking so much damage already, and he looks like his best years are behind him, and I kind of feel the same way for Alex Caceres. Now for Kron Gracie, this is going to be his UFC debut. What can you say about him? He's a Gracie. You know, he's amazing with this jiu-jitsu. He's going to want to get this fight to the ground. He could get the fight to the ground in many ways. He loves pulling guard. He could get it by a single leg or in the clinch and getting a sweep. But Kron Gracie's striking is also always improving. You know, he trains with the Diaz brothers, and you know Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz and Gilbert Melendez, they're amazing strikers. So those are people he's training with on a daily basis. So you know, constantly Kron Gracie's strikings are improving. Now I'm not saying he's gonna want to stand and trade with Caceres, because I think if he does that, he'll get knocked out. but he can, you know, land some shots to mix it up to go for the takedown. I could see, you know, Chrome Gracie utilizing some body shots and stuff to mix it up to keep Caceres thinking before he goes for the takedown. If he does get to the ground, I think Gracie's gonna dominate. He has so many tools, so many submissions he could finish it with the guillotines. He loves his arm bars. He has triangles. He just has many ways to get it done, and he loves taking it back. And if he takes it back to Caceres, I think it's gonna be a wrap real quick. It's gonna be a wrap regardless if he goes to the ground. I think it's gonna be all Chrome Gracie if he gets to the ground, and that's gonna be my final prediction. I got Chrome Gracie by second round submission. I think eventually he's gonna get Caceres to the ground. Maybe not in the first round, because Caceres does have that good footwork, so I think that might cause Gracie a little bit of problem. But as Caceres slows down, as you can see in his fights, he does slow down a little bit because his crazy style. I think he eventually will get taken down by Gracie, and Gracie will probably catch him in like an armbar or triangle, or catch him, take his back and submit him, get it with a guillotine or rear naked choke. So that's my final prediction: Chrome Gracie by second or third round submission. The next fight I want to talk about is Cynthia Calvillo versus Courtney Casey. This is a very good fight, super intriguing fight too. Let's start with Courtney Casey. For Courtney Casey, she's going to want to utilize her very good jab. She has a very good stiff jab. She has some pretty good judo throws too if it gets to the clinch, but I don't see her really wanting to clinch too much with Cynthia Calvillo. But she does have those tools in her toolbox. She can't really stay too heavy on her lead foot. Like, she likes to plant her feet and trade and throw her right hand. And you can see when she fought Claudia Gadelha, the main story of that fight is Gadelha just ducking under the right hand and taking Courtney Casey down at will, because Courtney Casey just plants her feet so stiffly. You can see against Michelle Watterson too, her feet are just so planted so heavy on the ground that Michelle would just duck under and sweep her from the clinch and stuff to the ground. So again, against the Cynthia Calvillo, I think that's going to cost her, because Cynthia Calvillo is obviously a very good wrestler, trained at Team Alpha Male. So for Courtney Casey, she's going to want to utilize her good jab and not be so heavy on her feet. She's not going to want to plant her feet. She's going to want to stay moving, stay light on her feet, because she will eventually get taken down by Calvillo. Now for Calvillo, her striking is always improving. You see her in her fights. Every time she comes out, she's always improving with her striking. Even in her last fight, even though she had a bad weight cut, she fought someone that was coming off some pretty good finishes due to strikes, and she demolished her first round submission, got her to the ground, took her back, didn't even have the hooks in, and choked her out. She has a very nasty guillotine. If it gets to the ground, Cynthia Calvillo is a world of trouble to deal with. Amazing submission. She loves her guillotine. That's her favorite submission to go to. For Calvillo, her strike, like I said, since her striking is always getting better, I could see her having some fun and trading with Courtney Casey on the feet, and maybe even pressuring Casey so much that Casey will panic wrestle for a takedown, and I could see that's where Calvillo will catch her in a submission while she's going for a takedown. Maybe catch her in a guillotine. So that's my final prediction. I see Cynthia Calvillo being too much on the feet and definitely too much on the ground when it gets there. Either she's going to get it to the ground by Courtney Casey panic wrestling, or Cynthia Calvillo will eventually take advantage of Courtney Casey being planting her feet heavy and duck under and go for a takedown, and eventually take her back and submit her. So I got Cynthia Calvillo by second round submission, because Courtney Casey is very tough. You've seen her against Felice Herrig. She's very tough, so I think it's gonna take a couple rounds to get her out of there. But at the end of the day, I got Cynthia Calvillo by second round submission, probably by rear naked choke or guillotine. That's one of her favorite submissions. On to the co-main event of the evening, James Vick versus Paul Felder. This is an awesome fight, super intriguing matchup. I'm very happy to see Paul Felder back in there after breaking his forearm against Mike Perry. So let's get into it. Let's start off with James Vick. Obviously, he's super tall, one of the tallest fighters in the lightweight division. He loves to use his front kicks and body kicks. He really likes the front kicks to the face also, and the teeps to the body. As you can see in the Joe Duffy fight too, he has a very good slip to an uppercut. And he's going to want to like stay at range, because if he comes into the pocket against Paul Felder is going to make him pay with elbows and strikes. So James Vick is definitely going to want to stay at range, utilize his kicks, and don't get in the pocket with Paul Felder. And nothing against James Vick, but dude, I do not like that guy. Like, there's just something about him, like the way he talks, and I mean, look at his face. Just look at him, like, dude, like, look at this dude. Yeah, I just don't like James Vick. But for Paul Felder, he's going to want to utilize his amazing striking. He's very durable. He's super tough. You can see when he went up to fight a welterweight, he took Mike Perry's best shots, and Mike Perry hits like a truck. So Paul Felder is super tough. Fought even Mike Perry with one arm. Just super durable. He's like I said, he has very good striking and very good elbows, especially if he gets in the top position, top mount. He has very good top pressure where it's hard to buck him off, and he loves using the elbows from the top mount. And like I said, for James Vick wants to stay at kicking range. Paul Felder is going to want to get in the pocket with James Vick and make him pay with elbows and just make it dirty. Make it a dog fight, and he's gonna not want to be at the kicking range for James Vick, because that's where James Vick is gonna have his best moments and best range and best feel. So Paul Felder needs to utilize his elbows, get in the pocket, make it a dirty fight. He could also utilize a body kick against James Vick. Since James Vick is so tall and lengthy, his body is like really long, so Paul Felder could catch him with some very good body kicks. And when Paul Felder throws kicks, man, he throws them with bad intention. So I could see him, he could definitely hurt James Vick with some body kicks. But at the end of the day, I see Paul Felder being too much with the striking. He's gonna, because we already seen James Vick doesn't have the best of chins. We see him knocked out cold against Beneil Dariush, and in his last fight against Justin Gaethje, he got clipped clean once and went to sleep. So I think Paul Felder is gonna do the same. I think he's gonna catch James Vick, and he either with an elbow kind of when they get into the pocket, like I'm saying, or with a punch in the pocket. But I think his power is gonna be too much for James Vick, and I see Paul Felder getting it done by first round TKO. No, actually first round knockout, because when James Vick gets hurt, he usually goes to sleep. So I got Paul Felder by first round knockout, probably due to elbows or something. And on to the main event of the evening, Francis Ngannou versus Cain Velasquez. Oh, I'm super excited for this fight. Oh my god, I'm super hyped to see Cain Velasquez back in there. We haven't seen him since his fight against Travis Brown at UFC 200, which seems like an eternity ago. Oh my god, I'm super hyped for this fight. Can't wait for it. Let's talk about Francis Ngannou first, though. Obviously, he just has the amazing power. In his last fight, you could see where it would only last about 40 seconds, and he put Curtis Blaydes pretty much to sleep. He dropped him 3 times within like 30 seconds. Amazing power. He loves his right hook, and he also loves his left uppercut. His left uppercut is brutal. You've seen it in his debut. I forgot who he fought, but he finished him with an uppercut, and then he finished, obviously, Alistair Overeem with that brutal uppercut. So he loves his uppercuts. Just devastating power, the ability to put any heavyweight to sleep with one punch. Very scary power. For Francis Ngannou, he's going to not want to be against the cage. That's where Cain Velasquez loves to go for takedowns. So Francis Ngannou is going to want to stay off the cage. Stay within the middle circle of the octagon. Don't get against the cage, and don't be too reckless with the strikes, because this could go to 5 rounds, no doubt. So Francis Ngannou needs to have his takedown defense on point. He needs to stay off the cage, and he needs to utilize some very good uppercuts, because that's where Cain Velasquez is going to be coming in for takedowns. Now, he doesn't want to start spamming uppercuts like he did in the Stipe Miocic fight and just get gassed out. He needs to be very smart with it. Maybe even utilize some knees. Utilize some knees when Cain Velasquez comes in. But just keep his back off the cage. That's the main thing he needs to do, is keep his back off the cage. And now for Cain Velasquez, it's hard to say for Cain Velasquez, because he's coming off a 3.5-year layoff, and he's obviously always having some very bad injuries, so he needs to be very healthy for this fight, and he can't be reckless like he is in some of his fights. You see in some of his fights, like where Dos Santos, which is kind of scary to watch, like sometimes in the earlier rounds where he'll get caught a little bit, where he's trying to do like a kind of like a Mike Tyson style, dodging and weaving, and then coming in for the takedown. He'll get caught on the side of the head and stuff with some overhand. So he needs to not be so reckless in this fight against Ngannou, because if he is, he will get clipped, and getting clipped by Ngannou will most likely put you out cold. But for Cain Velasquez, like I said, he needs to not be so reckless. He needs to look for the takedown against the cage, have very good pressure against Ngannou, where he throws some good feints to where Ngannou throws out his uppercut and misses, make Ngannou miss and gas himself out. You seen in the Stipe Miocic fight, Francis Ngannou does bite on feints, and you can draw out some strikes for him to get him gassed out. So utilize some feints and then mix it up with the takedowns. Don't go too crazy striking with Francis Ngannou. Don't go crazy trading. But when you do trade with him, he can utilize some good overhands. You've seen when he fought Travis Brown, which is the tallest fighter I believe Velasquez ever fought. Velasquez dropped Travis Brown with a very good overhand to the side of the head. So Francis Ngannou is going to be very tall like Travis Brown. So I could see that overhand possibly being a key factor, a key money shot for Cain Velasquez. So like I said, utilize the takedowns, mix them up, mix up the striking with the takedowns against the cage, and utilize that overhand right. He had a very good overhand. He can land it on Ngannou. I believe it'll be open on Ngannou. He just needs to not be reckless, and it's very hard to guess or predict this fight because, like I said, the 3.5 year layoff for Cain Velasquez. But as we've seen in history, 9 times out of 10, the wrestlers beat the strikers. We've always seen it with the Khabib fight. Just for example, there's many of them. Usually the wrestler always beats the striker. But Francis Ngannou seems to usually right that wrong, where the only time that actually happened true was Stipe. But look in his other fights where he fought Curtis Blades the first time he beat Curtis Blades, got him doctor stoppage, and then he fought Stipe, and then he lost, and he got out wrestled. But then he fought Curtis Blades again, and he was facing another wrestler, and he outstruck the wrestler and beat the wrestler. So he has seen this wrestling style about 4 times now in the UFC. He's pretty familiar with preparing for this type of fighting style. So, and most of the time he prevails. The only time he came up short was against Stipe. Now, Stipe is a very good wrestler, but Cain's just a totally different animal. And Francis Ngannou, as we can see, he did good against Curtis Blades, who's also a very good wrestler, but not the caliber of Cain. And if Cain gets Francis to the ground, man, I think it's just going to be Stipe Miocic, but worse, with just more ground and pound, just more suffering. I think Stipe is a very good wrestler, but like I said, Cain Velasquez is just way more accurate not accurate, way more active on the ground, especially with the strikes. Stipe more just wanted to gas him out, impose his will, put his weight against Francis, where Cain Velasquez is just going to look to hurt you and maul you and make you suffer. So my final prediction is very tough to predict, like I said, since Cain Velasquez is coming off a long layoff, and he does get injured a lot. But like I said, we've seen wrestlers against strikers, and usually the wrestler prevails. So I'm going to go with Cain Velasquez. I think he's going to have a successful return. I think it's going to be the big return of Cain Velasquez. I think he's going to get it done by, I believe, 3rd or 4th round TKO. I think he's eventually going to get Francis down, and Francis is just going to get gassed out and going to have flashbacks from Stipe Miocic. I think it's just going to be, like I said, worse though than on the ground than the Stipe fight. So I got Cain Velasquez by 3rd or 4th round TKO. I think it's going to be a mauling, especially going into the later rounds. Alright guys, that's my prediction for Cain Velasquez versus Francis Ngannou UFC on ESPN. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And enjoy the fights this Sunday, guys. Alright, later. Peace.
All of those are blocked. Starting to do some really significant damage to the body here. Another strike lands there. Thompson gets up to that punch. Yeah, he's a little wobbly on his feet. This fight is dangerously close to being stopped. Back and forth we go. Kick to the face. He's badly, badly hurt. Some real power shots here. He hurt him with that hook.